All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our first episode of Bristol Talks. I am Sam, if it wasn't obvious yet. I am also a Bristol graduate, if that wasn't obvious yet. So I graduated in economics, and on behalf of the team, welcome to our very first episode. Today's theme is Bristolians in Tech. So just to give a brief description of our talk, it's a bit like TED Talks, where it's a webinar series that is designed to bring you stories of our alumni. So before we begin, I think Nina and Anit would like to share a few words to get the ball rolling.
Okay, hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I think what we're sharing with you guys today is something that for the first time we're doing it, right, Anit?
Yes.
Ever. And we're hoping that we're going to kick off a series of not just one, but a couple of talks every 2 months, hopefully. And we're going to start with this one. And then hopefully when the market opens up, we'll be able to meet in person so that you guys can meet each other, not just meet your pixel versions of each other kind of thing. And another thing that me and Anit want to share is that we've been doing this for so long. I think we call ourselves the UBAAM Kudi. We're also very excited to share with you that we've got new people on the team who's going to be organizing.
Finally.
Yes, young blood. Anit, would you like to introduce them?
Okay, so firstly, we have Shern, who's also going to be our speaker today. So that's Shern. Then we have Sam, who's going to wave now.
We also have you mentioned Samantha from PJ, our MC today. And also, we have Koryu and Natalie. Natalie is currently in London. Whereas, Koryu is in Penang. He has some stuff to do. That's why he couldn't attend today. But yeah, and myself, I'm Lakan. So, back to you. And thanks for introducing.
All right, cool. So moving forward, I think what me and Anit would like to share is that we're going to have more young people take over the organizing kind of thing. So if you guys want to see more events or different kind of things, you can reach out to Shern, reach out to me or Anit, whoever it is, and then we'll try and organize something. But definitely the first thing that we're going to do is once the market is opening up, but once it's kind of pretty safe, we're going to organize one so that everybody can meet everybody and not just virtual. Yep. And Anit, anything else you want to add?
No, let's just take it away. This has been cooking for so long. It was proposed by another senior who just said to us, do it.
Yeah. Okay.
So
we didn't
thank God
have.
we had young blood.
Yeah. Thank God we have Shern, who's very hardworking. Let's just put it that way. Well, awesome. Love it. Reminds us of us.
Right? Thank you.
Okay. So thank you so much, guys. I'm going to pass it over to Sam. Sam,
Right.
go ahead.
Cool.
Yeah.
A few housekeeping rules before we begin. First of all, please remember to keep yourself muted while the speakers are talking so as to not interrupt them. Secondly, there is a Q&A session at the end of the talk, possibly at 4 p.m. So please keep your questions until then, or just type it out in the chat box and we will compile it to ask the speakers at the end. And last but not least, if you have any queries or suggestions for any of our future talks, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We will try our best to accommodate what everybody wants to hear. So let's start. Our first speaker would be Ching, who is the CEO of Piktochart and Piktostory, and she has a degree in experimental psychology. Ching?
Yeah. Hey, really good to meet everybody. I don't think I've, met Bristol Alumni. I didn't even know the group was around, until Nina said something, but I do recognize Abby from here as well. So yeah, which was kind of around my time. So here I am, and I'm gonna do my best to share a couple of slides. Wasn't sure whether I wanted to share in slides, but then I thought since Piktochart actually is a very visual based type of presentation tool. So I'll just talk a little bit about that. And I'm from Penang. I'm actually still here in Penang. So I lived in KL after Bristol for about 2 years. And then I came back to Penang. And since then, actually it's been about 10 years now that I'm in Penang. Started family, a business, everything, all here in Penang. So very briefly, this is just what I'm gonna go through. And then I started my family and business actually with my husband. This is my husband. He's Italian, but he's been he can speak Malaysian English basically. He can totally speak Manglish, no problem. We had an office. We used to have an office in Penang. We shut it down and we went all remote in that was just last year, like March, April. And we're actually, fun fact was that I met him when I was backpacking in Italy, back in Bristol days. So our relationship has actually gone like so long ago. I think I cannot even remember the years that I was in Bristol. I'm trying to figure out if it's 2005 to 2008 or 2006 to 2009, but it's around there. And I met him in my first year of university. So I'm a very, very normal girl. This photo is very, very blurred. I'm sitting right in front somewhere. And so the only thing about me was that since very young, I had like a big taste for adventure. In adventure, I mean that I was in Form 3, I think, and then I fundraised for money and then went to Korea for a Girl Scout like jamboree. And I know that all of these things are not very common. When I was in Form 4, I think I did a students exchange with AFS, Intercultural. Some of you may know of them, and went to Italy. That's how I learned Italian. And then, afterwards, like I kept getting drawn back to Italy and finally met my husband there. But yeah, the idea was that I'm a very normal person, like from Penang, just that I really had a taste for adventure. And actually, what led me to study in UK in the end was because I joined this thing called Raleigh International. I don't know if you all know about them. So they bring in teenagers on a gap year from UK, and then they will get a couple of like local hires as well. It's a 3 months, quite intensive outdoor program where you would go scuba diving, hike up like Mount Kinabalu, and not just Mount Kinabalu, like you do Banjaran Poker for 7 days, and Mount Kinabalu, you probably do one eco project, as well as like, something to, I don't know, clean up the beach or, something in like in Sabah itself. So I did that, and all the time when I was there, my friends were mostly from UK. Initially, my thought was to go to Australia to study, but then after going through Raleigh, I was like, okay, there is no other way I'm going anywhere but UK, because I was so fascinated, I think, with even just the people that I've met during Raleigh International. So I did this right after a condensed 1 year of A-levels. And then, so let me say, I finished my A-levels, I remember, in December. And then I did Raleigh in about, I can't remember, like February to, May or something like that. And then in September, I was already off to Bristol, basically. Bristol also was my top choice. And fortunately, I got in with an unconditional, what's it called? I know they had this like conditional offer, unconditional thing. And I got, they were the only ones, I think, that offered me the unconditional. So I just went in, and yeah, so kind of, giving like a bit of a backstory. Yes, I studied in Bristol. This is probably a very old photo. I took a look at some new photos of, what it looks like right now. And I was like, oh my goodness, I cannot recognize anything. Like I really couldn't recognize anything. I haven't been back for so long. Although before the pandemic, I used to go to Italy and Europe like at least once a year, but I haven't been able to go back to Bristol specifically for quite a long time now. But I've had some really, really fond memories there, and it's helped to shape who I am today and as an entrepreneur as well. So another backstory, like I think I built up a backstory of how I ended up in Bristol. It was through a series of coincidences. I don't think I planned to get into UK and planned to get into like Bristol at all. It was like life's, experiences and everything kind of just got me there. But for psychology, actually, I was very interested because since young, I've always been very much into like how human minds work and what makes people tick. And very specifically, I was very interested in the study of depression and anxiety, because I just felt that a lot of people around me seemed very happy, but then everyone just had something inside, that kind of didn't quite make them, I don't know, like open up to the world and things like that. So that was what got me interested in psychology. And that was also the reason why I considered, other universities, because for psychology, I know Bristol at that time was one of the best in the world for psychology, but it wasn't the only one. Like there were other universities in US and Australia as well, at my time at least. After that, I took a very unconventional route. So maybe I should like pause a little while, like go back to the Bristol slide. In my first year of doing psychology, I was extremely disillusioned because I told you all why I studied psychology. Was all about like mental health and people. And actually the word psychology, like the word psyche, comes from, if I'm not mistaken, a Greek word that means soul, actually. So it's a study of your soul. And when I went, and the first year of my, my Bristolian years, in experimental psychology, I found that everything was reduced to statistical significance and ANOVA. I know Shern knows what I'm talking about. Like everything was just a number, and I felt extremely uncomfortable about that. I was like, a human soul cannot possibly reduce to statistical, significance and all that. So I didn't want something that was so clinical. I thought like maybe something more, I don't know, more artsy, maybe like a BA in psychology or something would have been better. But I consulted my parents actually within the first year itself. I was like, I'm so sorry, I picked the wrong degree. It's not the wrong university or anything, it was just the wrong degree. And then I was like, can I switch course? And they were like, they kind of give me a lot of like freedoms and independence, because I've always been a very independent kid. And then but they were like, can you try to finish up your course? Like people don't usually do this, like you take the first year and then you think that you're in the wrong course and everything. But but anyway, like fast forwarded, I obviously stuck in all the way and finished my course, but not without difficulty, because I lost faith basically in psychology, in experimental psychology itself within the first year. So that's kind of the bigger story of what happened. When I came out, I kind of lost myself for a little while, like in the sense, you all hear it by now that I no longer believe in what was it that I wanted to do, and it was too late to go back into something that was more like a Bachelor of Arts, and then like redo a whole degree again. So then I actually was in ISAC quite a bit. So that was where I met most of my friends were actually majors in economics, if not all of them were actually in economics. And they influenced me greatly, like to get into investment banks, because that was all, they were talking about. But then in all of it also, P&G in Bristol had I really think in terms of employer branding, like the #1 company at my time again, like they were constantly everywhere. So when I got back, I went into banking first. I tried out private equity at CIMB Bank, and that is kind of roots now to my entrepreneurship, because private equity is just basically corporate banks running an entrepreneur's life. I did the internship for about 3 months. I was like, look, as much as I love, like the business of like buying businesses and then running it, I felt like I'm not that numbers person and it doesn't really fit me. So then I thought about P&G a lot, and I was very grateful actually when they offered me an opportunity in media and advertising. Actually, I wasn't in marketing specifically. So this is in KL. Started out my career, and in 1.5 years, maybe a bit less, I burned out completely because I had like very high expectations of myself, and then I just didn't meet those expectations. And I'm not going to blame the employer or anything. It really was me, I've always been this person with like extremely high ambition, and I have to get what I want, and I set myself up to do. And when I was there, I felt so, if I could use the word, stupid. Like that's really how I felt. And what happened was that I came back to Penang, and that's why I came back to Penang. I did a surgery, and I was like bedridden actually for 3 months. So I was in bed just with my iPad reading and trying to figure out life and figure out career as a whole. I also have another part that I skipped. Why I came back to Malaysia immediately was because that was the year of Lehman Brothers crash. I did apply for multiple jobs at that time, but then basically I don't think even the local EU people were finding it difficult actually to get jobs at the time, because there was just a shortage of like all kinds of work at that year. So it was either 2008 or 9, and that that was the reason why I came back to Malaysia. I wanted to initially extend my visa there to work for 2 years before coming back. So I'm at P&G. So it went my life went on like a super high. My high years I think were my years at the university. Came back to KL, and that was like a low, and also my relationship status with my husband was like unknown. At that time we were still just dating, not yet married. And then going to the investment banking didn't work, and then went down to P&G, and at first it was okay, and then within 6 months I was like again another new low. And that was the reason of how we started building Piktochart. This particular infographic, this GIF that you're looking at, that's what we created. And this infographic that I'm showing you, I think it was done in 2014. We launched this in 2012 actually. So the idea is that we enable business storytelling, the ability for people to tell visual stories or communicate, in a very visual and impactful way. It could be reports, it could be presentations, anything at all that you have information to communicate. And then you're choosing, instead of PowerPoint and all that, like you're choosing to go with something like us. So we started off in 2011, and today it's our 10-year anniversary actually. We launched in 2012, and then today it's our. And we also have another product that we recently just launched, just to like walk you all through a little bit about what we do. I heard that somebody here does computer science, so like this could be interesting because I work mostly with like software engineers right now. Not so much with data, but they do they do some stuff. So we recently launched this tool where it does video editing, but video editing tools, there are a million right now, out there. What makes this one slightly unique is that we go by transcript-based editing. So let's say this conversation that we're having right now is recorded, and then you can like feed it through Piktostory and basically just have it highlighted, and then you can take out the parts that you want instead of normal video editors that go through like timeline editing, which is very slow and very, very, very precise, but it's very slow and very time consuming. So that's the kind of product that I built, and we're mostly in, like I mentioned, like storytelling. Our business is actually, although we're based here in Malaysia, but like 99% of our customers are from other countries, and I think we're also more than let me see, we're more than 28 million signups right now. So Piktochart is basically the ability to combine both like story and design together into like what we call visual storytelling. The formats, just go through quickly, like infographics, presentations, reports, and etc. Like you can do that. So now I'm gonna go into like the third part very quickly into how I felt like Bristol changed me. I actually couldn't find pictures because it's been more than 10 years, and I'm very, very bad at like I have a daughter right now, and people always ask me, how come you don't have so many pictures? Even of my daughter, and that's like crazy, right? My husband takes a lot of photos, and I just trust him that he has all of them. But a lot of these photos are not me. All right, I'm just like picturing the picture. So one of the things is that I felt Bristol really gave me a wake-up call. Until Bristol, I was a straight-A student. I don't mean to brag, all right, but I really was a straight-A student, and I went to Bristol, and my second year, I fell into a lower second, which actually hit me like crazy. So how that happened was because I had a lot and a ton of like extracurricular commitments. So the first of it was I was a telethon caller. I don't know if this still exists in Bristol days, but my parents actually gave me enough allowances to live by. But I remember the first day I was living in Manor Hall, and I remember that what I made for my meal, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, was almost the same thing. I made white bread from Sainsbury, the basic white bread. I got the basic like red beans, and then I got eggs because those things were cheap. And I ate like that type of like rubbish food and junk food like for almost the first year. Not because I didn't have money from my parents, but because I felt guilty spending so much, or at least it just felt really expensive to me. I couldn't get over it. So in my second year, I worked 3 part-time jobs. One of it was a telethon fundraiser. I don't know if you all know what that's like, but basically it's picking up a phone, calling up one of the anybody, actually alumni, but usually they give you by like, if you studied psychology, then they give you other people in social sciences as well. So you would like be able to relate. And I would have conversations with these people, usually about like 50, 60, 70 years old. I'm not joking. And sometimes you call people up and they're like, they even passed on already. I'd be like, yeah, they're no longer there. And it's either it's the kids or whatever. But it was a life-changing experience in a lot of sense because that was really forcing you to go out of your comfort zone. And I took on sometimes I took on like bartending type of jobs as well. Anything at all actually to help me make some money. And I was also very active in ISEC. So all of those things actually, they gave me a wake-up call because one, I just told you all that in my second year, I kind of got to a lower second, and it gave me a huge shock. Like really, and after that, needless to say, for my final year, I cut off all of my extracurricular stuff. And fortunately, I got back, in like upper second because I don't know, my grades like somehow mattered a lot to me. But that I didn't regret all of the things that I did during my second year because I felt that I gained a lot of skills that I wouldn't have otherwise as an entrepreneur today. It just really forced me. I thought I was adventurous, until I went there, and then I realized, oh my goodness, like the world really has a lot more to offer. And Bristol kind of gave me that perspective. And I also have a lot of like lifelong friendships. What's kind of funny is that the friends that I think I'm closest with, they are literally the Shahs, the Patels, and I had a number of Korean and Japanese friends as well. and a couple of European friends, like and a number of them like came actually over to my wedding, and a lot of them were actually from ISAC. So and I'm sure this is for every one of you too, like the people and the friends that you meet there, they would forever, be your friends and be a part of your lives. And that was, yeah, I think that's like one of the most beautiful things. I have friends through like college and A levels, and of course, school. No need to say, I'm from convent school here in Penang, and we're very very good friends. But I think my university mates like stay the most consistent ones over a long period of time. Not all of them studied with me. Some of them were just like we happened to share a house, and that's why I got to know them so well and learn, what is a Gujarati Indian, for example. Like they taught me a lot of stuff, and I'm very, very much influenced by my friends from the Bristolian years. And it also opened up my eyes. Wait, let me see. Do I have a? Oh yeah, I do. Open up my eyes. Again, I'm guessing a lot of you are familiar with ISAC. They are kind of everywhere. But in Bristol at my time, it was a very, very big thing. Like they were the weird people who, did all the dances. We would travel around the country. And again, I had to do cold calling, basically sell like an internship program, to employers. And we even went door to door to knock on, like, I remembered Enterprise Rent a Car. I almost got their contract. And like I said, I was, I was just crazy. But I think Bristol changed me for a really, really, really good way. Participated in so many things apart from this. I still had like non-profit societies that I was like, from time to time a part of, but I don't even fully remember because I was just in too many places doing too many things at the time. The other one thing was I also took on skydiving. I have a fear of heights, like a big, big fear of heights. And I thought like, I have no other time to overcome like, my greatest phobias. So I actually joined the skydiving club in, again, my first year. And so I did skydiving, got over my fear and never did it again. But it's just, like I said, like I felt like Bristol really opened up, my eyes to so many things that I wouldn't normally try and wouldn't go and try again, like in my life. But then all of these things helped me and, shaped me to become the entrepreneur that I am today. Also, I was my love for like performing arts got started in Bristol. Out of all of the money and all the side jobs that I earned, I actually spent most of it not on shopping. I spent it most on theatre. I and food. Oh yeah. After that, I was like, oh, I can finally afford Wagamamas, And back then, like in my first year, I never touched Wagamamas, and a lot of my friends would be like, out drinking, out eating, and all that kind of stuff. And I would be like, no, I go out to eat once, when I'm backpacking or when I'm traveling, but I don't typically do that. I cook most of my meals, and but with all of my money, I remembered like I was just staying tuned to like Hippodrome, what shows they had, and then the discounts, like buy them early, and like look for not overly cheap seats, but cheaper seats, slightly further away from station. That's okay, and all that kind of stuff. So that also until today, I'm still a very big fan of the performing arts. And I think like living in a city like Bristol helped to give that to me as well. So. Okay, and now the biggest lesson I learned, I kind of like, kept it empty, but I'm guessing y'all could guess it from what I wanted to say. I felt that, Bristol it forced me actually to totally evolve and like adapt, into a totally different person, as well as all of the risk taking behavior. I felt like most of it, I got it from there. Like I'm an extroverted person, but I'm not comfortable like networking. I'm not comfortable with telesales. I'm not comfortable with a lot of these things. But Bristol actually was my training ground. So like when people ask me like, what's it like? Like you're a female entrepreneur, you're in Malaysia, but then you're selling to, US and the rest of the world, and your competitors are in the Silicon Valley and all that. Like, how do you do it? And sometimes I look back and I felt that all of this time that I spent at Bristol was really training ground, because I always did things that I was never, ever comfortable with. So in that sense, I felt like I regularly pushed myself out of the comfort zone in the 3 short years I was there. And that just kind of made me today who I am. So that's kind of it from me. And yeah, so I didn't know. I thought that a lot of you would still be in Bristol, but it sounds like a lot of us are alumni right now. But I would be like, just make the best use, of your time and opportunity there, because I sometimes kind of wish I could go back and, like go back to, what is it? Is it Clinton or Clifton. Sorry, I can't even remember the names right now, but I roughly do remember like where Manor Hall and everything was. And I wish that I used up even more opportunity to travel outside of Bristol. I did go to Bath and a couple of places actually with Isaac, like we traveled to Glasgow and all that for conferences, but I didn't take much time to actually travel outside of Bristol. And I half regretted it because I thought that I took it for granted that after I graduated, I would have found a job in the UK and then stayed there for at least like 2 years before coming back. But I didn't even have that thanks to, the economy at that time and all that. So I think that was like my slight regret that I didn't still, go all out. But at the same time, it was a really lovely time. And like I said, where, whatever like shaped me to who I am today was actually a lot of it was Bristol. So yeah, that is kind of all I have to go right now. I think Q&A is at the end, but I'll be happy, to chat after this.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Ching, for that talk. It was very insightful. All right. Now let's move on to Lavinie, who is a lawyer from Bristol. And please, Lavinie.
Yeah. Oh, thanks so much. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Nice to see everyone here today. I enjoyed Ching's story. Actually, I know of Ching from the whole entrepreneur community, but, never realized she was Bristolian, firstly. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful to meet somebody from the whole startup ecosystem. It's a great ecosystem. Actually, I think I'm probably one of the oldest people in the ecosystem now, because a lot of them are like in their 20s. And maybe early 30s. So, to have somebody in their 40s there is maybe not so cool. I don't know. But no, let me just share. I've got a little slide thing as well to share. So let me do that right now. Hang on a second. Share screen. Can you guys see my screen? Yeah, put it on slideshow as well. So this is me. I did law together with Anit and many others and graduated in 97. Actually, I really wanted to practice law, to be honest. I loved what I studied. But having said that, I also was very scared because, to be honest, always wanted to do law, always wanted to study it. But in first year, I can tell you the people around me were brilliant. And I felt that I really thought I was doing the wrong course because I could not keep up. And I thought, coming from science background in particular, and I did not do law at A levels, I was really lost. So, subjects like constitutional law just drove me up the wall. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to pass this thing. It's just so difficult. But I called home and my dad said, no, give it a go. You'll be fine. And I was actually thinking, should I stick to law? Should I change degrees? That sort of thing. And I guess first year was daunting in that sense. And then second year, it all started to come together. The puzzle started to fit. And I really enjoyed what I studied. And I have to say that was also the same time I started doing ballroom dancing, as Anit mentioned earlier. And I think one of the things I'd really like to say, Bristol really shaped me in discovering things. So whilst I enjoyed what I studied, but you have, whatever you do, you have to be absolutely passionate. You have to, and I had no idea I would enjoy ballroom dancing. I had no idea, but I got into it. And Peter Ong was my partner, fellow Bristolian alumni. And, it was crazy because we practiced like mad. We went for competitions all the time. We used to travel around England. And it became like, although we were very passionate about what we were doing, but it also instilled that level of competition. So in everything we did, we wanted to make ourselves better and practice really hard. And the goal was obviously to go and win competitions, aside doing well and enjoying it. But there was always that competitive side because the people around us were very good at what they were doing. So that kind of drove us. And you know what, at the end of the day, I realized that helped me with my law degree. I know it probably doesn't make sense now, but what I'm trying to say is you had that adrenaline pumping and that passion and that kind of made you happy all the time. And with that, I translated it into, I enjoyed my studies even more because I just had that constant euphoria of being passionate about what I was doing. And I think that was one of the main things I got out of Bristol. Of course, there were great friends that are still close friends till today. And I think the community, the trust that you have, there's nothing it doesn't get better than that, because at the end of the day, it's your network, it's your friendship, it's the people around you, people that you can pick up the phone and get advice, or move from one thing to another. So do I have any regrets of not doing law? Well, I've always said to my fellow law colleagues, not colleagues, law mates at school, I've always said, you know what, one day I'm going to come and sit in your firm to see what I missed out, But so essentially, I wanted to do that, but I came back to Malaysia and went into banking for a short while, enjoyed it for a bit, but then realized it was not my cup of tea. And then decided together with Peter that we were going to start a dance school. So we did that for a good 10 years. Again, it was all fueled by passion, and we really enjoyed it, took it as far as we could, did that for 10, 11 years. And then I started Babydash. And Babydash really is again, it's something, it all stems from the drive of trying to find something or to do something which can break boundaries. And I learned that about breaking boundaries in Bristol, really. And when we started Babydash, it was even before Lazada and Tesco came about. And many of our friends who were still living in the UK and coming, whenever they would come back home to Malaysia, they'd be like, why are you guys still buying your groceries online? You mean you got to run to Village Grocer just to pick up the milk and the diapers? And that's how the idea came about, that, well, let's try this. Let's create a platform an e-commerce platform, just test it and see. I had no idea or no inclination at that point of thinking about things like fundraising and okay, if I do this and I can exit in X amount of years. I didn't think of any of that. It was more an experiment to see whether this would work, whether Malaysians would even buy into the idea, and then take it from there. And it was a huge learning curve, because, as you know, I have no tech background at all, and everything I do today revolves around learning about the latest tech stuff that's come up, what can be implemented into our platform and can take us to the next level. And so it's been, like Ching, it's been 10 years for us as well. So we just celebrated that, I think 2-3 months ago. It's been an amazing journey. And let me just share a bit about the Babydash stories. We're here. So yes, we do make parents' lives better, and we deliver everything except for the baby. And this is us. We are now Malaysia's #1 online baby store. We launched into Singapore in 2019. By the way, this is a shameless plug, because clearly I'm selling Babydash here. So, I mean, it's been a very tough journey, but I think all of this, it comes down from the mindset of what do we want to do, and being so passionate about creating something which is of value to mummies and daddies, because as parents ourselves, we know what is needed out there, and it's also about breaking boundaries and I'll share a bit about that after this, about how I want to position the company to be very different from other e-commerce companies. So the way I look at it is that customer service has to be #1, tip top. And in the beginning, it used to be me. I used to call each one and welcome people to the platform. And I've made that a key point now for my staff to do as well, that it's so important to have that personal touch, because can you imagine, nobody from Shopee or Lazada is going to call you and welcome you and then try and get to know the customer and then find out what are the key things you need or what are the problems you face. And so we did a lot of that, and we've got a lot more to grow in that area. As we scale up, I want to make sure that we maintain that level of personalized touch. Very difficult to do, but can be done. So that's what I mean by breaking boundaries. If you believe in something, you're passionate about it, do it. And our goal is to then go beyond Malaysia. I mean, we're already in Singapore. I'm looking at a few more Southeast Asian countries, and obviously the idea is also to make sure we've got everything under the sun for mummies. So just about 2 years ago, we only had about 4,000 products, and today we're already double of that. We're already hitting 9,000, and in the next 18 months, I want to make sure that hits 12,000. So we're growing very quickly. What else can I say? So this is just a little bit about us, how we value, how these are the key principles, which, like about being trusted advisors. Again, that's all the personal touch, and, to have the widest selection, to bring great value, to make sure we are convenient, all the things that you believe in and that you're passionate about, to put that into action, really, and make it a reality. What else do I want to say? See, okay, I do want to share this about how I want to break boundaries. So, just to share some key numbers, our average basket is 300 ringgit, and that is 2.4 times the Southeast Asia average. And that's quite an achievement, I think. And we want to go beyond that. So, because we believe we can do that, as long as you bring quality stuff that's of value to parents. And sometimes parents don't know what they need. We have to go out there, do the research, and then, bring it out for them. And that helps push things ahead. And then, the other thing is a lot of e-commerce companies are actually bleeding money to glory. I mean, you guys already know Lazada, Shopee, and they're bleeding. I don't know where the light is at the end of the tunnel for them. And we were in that same boat. We were losing money every year for the longest time. And then, I just didn't believe in that. And I knew I had to turn this around. And that's where we are today. We turned profitable sometime last year. Well, actually, we broke even first. And that is the idea, because it's about breaking boundaries. It's about making sure just because everybody else is losing money doesn't mean you have to be in that same bandwagon and just go spend money to get market share. It doesn't make sense, right? You can do that for a particular period of time, but after a while, it's got to make sense. You've got to build a sustainable business, something that you're passionate about, something that you can take forward. And I think, that what I'd like to share is, I think a lot of that came from my experience at Bristol, where you dare to dream and you dare to break boundaries, you dare to do things in the unconventional way. So, when people say to me, yeah, you did a law degree and but you were dancing all the time, I always say, you know what, I did very badly in my first year, but in the end I did well in my law degree because I was dancing. And it's that breaking boundaries, it's that mindset that you need to do things that keep you happy, that keep you passionate. What else? I think Shern sent me a list, because I can go and talk nonstop, but I want to make sure I answer the questions that Shern has here. So yeah, my advice for anyone who wishes to venture into tech, is a degree in tech a criteria? Absolutely not. Not at all. I think the important thing is to have a curious mind. And the good thing is, in today's world, and if you think about it, when we did our degree in 97, if you didn't know something, you had to look up the books, you had to look up an encyclopedia or whatever. There was no Google to go and search. Today, you have Google at your fingertips. Everything you can search, things like anything, any complicated thing you search, and it leads you from one article to another. I found great global mentors purely because I was digging and looking for things, and now I'm part of this amazing group. And that the world of tech has opened up so much. And do you need to have tech background? I guess it's a plus point if you do, but at the end of the day, you need to surround yourself with mentors, with great people who have the experience, and everything you can learn. And I think I'd like to say I think I'm a little bit of an example there, where somebody with a law background can go into tech without having any knowledge. And so it's about, again, pushing those kind of boundaries, and obviously hiring good people around you is another important thing. Yeah, so that's me in a nutshell. I think I'd like to leave it at that, and I'm happy to take any questions afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lavi. Right now, for our final segment for today, I'd like to welcome Shern, Kasih, Farrell, and Kieran to talk about Kasih.
Yeah, hi. Thanks a lot, Sam. So I think we're very, very fortunate to be invited by the UBAAM community to be the youngest speaker ever to have like a chat about tech and the stuff that we've done in the past. So I'm going to pass over to Kasih to do a little bit about the introduction of what Kasih is all about. And we also have Farrell and Kieran, who is in charge of the tech side of this project, to talk a little bit about their experience. So over to you, Kasih.
Thank you. Can everyone see my screen? Is this
Yeah,
working?
all good.
All right, great. Thanks, Shern. And hi, everyone. So a brief summary of our agenda today. I'll be speaking about who we are and what we have done. Shern will be talking about how Bristol impacted her. And lastly, all of us will be sharing some brief lessons learned and general advice. So who we are. Shern is the founder for Kasih. Initially, she dragged me and another person as a co-founder in. And in building out the MVP of our website, we decided to reach out to our connections and our friends. So today I'm accompanied by Kieran, Faiz. Well, Faiz is not here. I'm accompanied by Kieran and Farrell, who are both, all of us are Bristolians. All of us have graduated a few years ago, except Kieran, who's currently doing a PhD in Bristol. So let me jump straight into what is Kasih. So it all started with the white flag movement. For a brief recap of the white flag movement, it was when, due to extended lockdowns from the pandemic, people were struggling to bring food to their table. So what happened was families would raise a white flag outside their houses as a way for asking for help without resorting to begging. Now, and what subsequently happened was that there was a massive crowdsourcing effort where citizens would drive around their local areas, their local districts to search for these white flags and help these people. And so Shern and I came up with this idea of this seems that there has to be a more efficient way to do this. So what we came up with was a website where users can upload their white flags. And our aim is essentially to connect those who needed help and those who can help. And while doing this, it gave us perspective that there are two different perspectives to lockdowns. So like while most of us are looking forward towards the end of the pandemic or towards the end of the lockdowns where we can regain our freedom and go to the cinemas and go to meet our friends, a lot of people are still struggling to bring food to their table and don't really see an end in sight. So it's very important for us to understand and see this perspective. So what we built, this is an example of what we built. Essentially, what we did is we wanted to display these stories of users who needed help on our website. We focused on minimizing friction for the user to describe their situation and their details. And we basically took these details and displayed them in an organized manner. As you can see, the picture in the middle is an example of someone who is requesting for help. We've also added stories of people who have, we've also recorded instances of people who have helped others. This is example is the picture on the right. And a very common theme is that the only way to get through the pandemic is to support one another. And that's what we've been trying to do. So our accomplishments, essentially, we had 5 developers working across 4 time zones. It started off as a global effort. We had 24/7, someone was coding. And we managed to launch our MVP in 3 weeks. And we managed to get some public recognition too. So we had an interview with the Jantan Collective, which is a YouTuber. We also had interviews with the Star, the China Press. The China Press one was the one that went relatively effective. We had around like 7,000 views of the news article, which translated into a significant amount of web traffic into our website. And so what is our next step? We noticed that relying on donations alone is not the most sustainable approach in the long run due to mental fatigue. And what we noticed is that there were a lot of people who lost their normal day-to-day jobs, who lost their full-time jobs, who shifted into selling things from their houses as a way to support their families. So they may be factory workers who have lost their job and are selling chicken chop by the roadside. We have pilots who lost their jobs and are selling food. So what's our next step is we want to empower the underprivileged vendors. So we want to shine a digital spotlight on these vendors and to help to promote their services and accelerate the digitalization of these underprivileged food vendors. So that is a very quick summary about what Makasih is. And I will pass this on to Shern now to describe, I guess, life in Bristol. Shern.
All right, thanks a lot, Kasih. So if anyone else have any question regarding Makasih, we can always proceed it with during the Q&A session. So I'll just share a bit more about the experience you had back in Bristol, and look at that lovely picture over there. So yeah, it means so much to me. I mean, we also have Sam, we have Kasih, we have everyone who is attending this session during our batch in this picture actually. The reason why it's named after Mamak Gang is because we want to LEPAK after our classes, to do like hotpot sessions, to do like everything, right? So that's how it all began with Mamak Gang. And yeah, throughout my uni years, I get to know like a lot of people from all walks of life, and I think I'm very, very proud and glad to say that they are doing so well in life today and are professionals in their own expertise, right? And I mean, look at that picture. We already have the talented team to help run the Makasih project. So yeah, Kasih, next slide, please. And this is a picture which is taken by one of my course mates when I was doing my master's in University of Bristol. So much like Ching, who is technically speaking my senior, I did my degree in experimental psychology and my master's in innovation entrepreneurship. So an interesting fact is that, I don't realize that a lot of the Bristol alumni who is also joining us today, as well as like those who are unable to join us, I think we share a common ground here. I think we are very entrepreneurial in a sense. And yeah, so it's quite interesting, right? Like Bristol, is it like a myth or is it a fact that, Bristol helps groom and nurture aspiring entrepreneurs? Yeah, Kasih? So this image here was taken on my graduation day, actually. So it's one of the very best encounters I've had in life because it really helps reflect a lot on the beauty of humanity. So what actually happened was that we were going around to take graduation shots, and we went up to Bristol Suspension Bridge. I happened to be on the graduation route, so the tourist was like, "Oh, hey, look at this! This is something weird." Like, okay, it caught a lot of attention from the tourists. So this bunch of Italian school kids who are visiting Bristol alongside their teachers, their teachers was like, "Hey guys, so this is where you are going to be one day. So let's take a picture with Shern, shall we?" So like this sort of beauty of humanity really helps warm me and soothe me in a sense, because it's like we never cross paths at all in life, but this sort of common ground, this sort of similarity helps bring out the best in humans, that like exchange in culture and yeah, like it's very interesting because they were trying to sing in Italian as well. It's just a very, very joyous occasion. So next please, Kasih. In terms of lesson learned and advice, we'll have Kieran, Farrell, Kasih, myself to share a bit about like what we think tech is applicable in when we're trying to venture out with a project. So for me personally, I think when it comes to tech, first is to set the right vision. It's so important because you have to understand what problem are you trying to solve and what sort of purpose does it serve, right? And next, is always very important to also bear in mind that an idea simply means nothing without proper execution. Oftentimes we dwell in the the loop of imagination, trying to say like, okay, what would happen next? Like if it's even the correct approach that we should be going after. But no, let's just do it. Let's just try it, right? Take a step out and just try to experience of like if that's the right approach to go forward. So instead of dwelling in like layers of ideas, it's really important to just set out, never try, never know, right? So that's also where teamwork is very important, because you need to find the right people to work towards achieving the same vision as a team together. Kasih?
Thanks, Shern. So my general advice was look for opportunities to apply your skills to help your home country. And the reason I said this was I realized that as someone who had the opportunity to go abroad to work to study in the UK, it is a privilege that it's a privilege that not a lot of Malaysians share. And the new perspective, the new environments, the new perspectives help to grow, to helps my personal development. And personally, I'm always looking for opportunities to use my tech skills to help people in my home country. So this is something that I would encourage each of you today who are here to think about. Which is how can you bring this privilege back to others within Malaysia. The next one was supposed to be Faiz, but he's not here. So I guess I will pass it on to Kieran.
Hi. Yeah, so my sort of lesson learned and advice was you don't always get what you give, but failure is a great lesson. And I think this is something that I am repeatedly reminded of since I came to Bristol, since I came to uni, since I graduated from uni, you know, with new ventures like Kasih. And I think the sort of one story that always sticks with me was when I came to Bristol, I was just like, you're thrown into a pool of very, very intelligent people, just like the top of the top in your course or wherever. And there's always there's so much overhead, at least for me. It was a completely new experience. And at that point, sort of failure became a very common thing in every element, in terms of, you know, social, in terms of studies as well. And a lot of my growth happened because of that, which is why I really, really respect failure now, because there's so much to learn from there. And in terms of you don't always get what you give, I think that's also something that I've also learned throughout. You know, you can put in all of your efforts into doing something, but sometimes you need to go through that failure to realize what you're missing and move forward. And it's a lesson that I'm always repeatedly reminded of. And I just thought I'd like to share that with everyone. Next up is Farrell.
Yeah. So my lesson learned and advice, and also something that came about from my own personal growth, kind of follows up from what Kieran and what Kasih said also. So I think a lot of us, you know, Asians have this kind of mentality that when we get into uni, we want to be hardworking or kiasu in a lot of ways, right? And so oftentimes you realize that we want to do everything perfectly, and at times we want to do everything by ourselves. And I'm sure we've all been put into lots of like group work or teamwork where certain members of our team are not exactly pulling their weight, so we have to pick up their slack. So that kind of mentality in and of itself is a great lesson that I had to learn from. Like, is in and of itself a failure. It's a failure of a mentality, and there's a lesson in that, as Kieran said. So my advice is to learn to rely on others. Cooperation is the best way to ensure a good outcome in terms of what you want in any kinds of settings, be it business, professionals, or even private. But it also aligns with kind of the entire ethos that we are doing in Kasih. What Kasih haven't mentioned is probably the derivation or the derivation of the name of our brand, Kasih. So Kasih, myself, and Kevin, like another exco who are not here, or previous exco, we came up with the name Kasih because it kind of have a double meaning or behind it. Firstly, the MA stands for Malaysia Kasih. So the whole ethos behind our kind of work is to provide a platform where Malaysians can help other Malaysians, but in return they will eventually help themselves back, through their event by helping them build themselves back up again. They can sustain themselves through the business that we help to grow, and then they will be able to help the people who help them along the way through their services and businesses. So there's a sort of double meaning behind the Kasih in Makasih, to give but also to get something back. And so learn to rely on others, because again, I definitely did not build this entire website even when I was still a web developer. We all worked together with Kieran, and then this Faiz helped us to grow the business. Kasih and Shern kept us on track, etc. And then hopefully I myself as the regional manager lead will be able to source other good team members that can help us to expand the general Southeast Asia area. And that's it. Sure, nothing. If you want to say a concluding statement.
Sure. So it's a very challenging journey, and I'm very grateful, to have a very collaborative team to, who really trust in this vision to help to help utilize our capabilities, tech capabilities, and any sort of capabilities like experimental psychology. We have like physics, we have com science, we have marketing, to put together as a team to really bring back the benefits back to our own very community during such trying times. So yeah, it's what I think this is the beauty of tech that can help move our community towards a better, society. Yeah. Over to you, Sam.
All right, thank you so much, guys, for the very insightful talk. All right, now we can start moving on to our Q&A session. So if anyone has anything to say, they can either type it in the chat or they can just unmute themselves and shout it out to whoever they want to ask. Navid, I think you raised your hand.
Yes, I did. Ching, can I just ask, what was your aha moment and why Piktochart?
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I think in trying to tell you all so many backstories, I forgot to explain that part. So, taking us back to when I had the burnout and I was bedridden for 3 months. Before Piktochart, actually, my husband and I did consulting for a little while. So we built Magento and WordPress websites for companies all around here, especially Penang. Somehow we don't have any KL clients, but we had Singaporean clients as well. And then I was looking for clients, but I knew that I was I'm never gonna do agency model forever, because I'm not a sorry, I'm not a really service type of person. And then so what happened was I was reading up a lot, and I realized that inbound marketing or content marketing was going to be really big. Now today, in this world that we live in, it's it's all about content marketing. But then 10 years ago, it was nothing about content marketing, At the time, it was bloggers and influencers, all that were just beginning to bud, and people were making lots of money, from blogging, all that. So I saw that trend, and I thought it was going to grow even more. And what's going to accompany it a lot is probably something visual. And we picked infographics because it seemed small enough and not so daunting, not so daunting, I think, for us to build as a product. So I pitched the idea to my husband. We went for an accelerator program in China because the other alternative would have been US. And the list to try to get into that US program is going to be a lot. Y Combinator, a lot of people know in tech. And we just chose to go to the one in China. We got in within 30 days. And then, we started building the product. But it was all because of at that time, reading, studying a lot. And plus I had too much time on my iPad. So I was just reading a lot of TechCrunch and everything. And that got me to realize that inbound marketing was going to become really big. Yeah. Thanks.
Nina has put up a question in the chat. How do you guys keep up to date and innovate yourself, especially when no one else is doing what you're doing?
Sorry, that question is for?
Actually for it's actually for all three of you. Like Lavi, when you first started, nobody knew what everybody was doing. The tech did not exist yet. So how and I Ching as well. Nobody else. I think the only competitor I see is Canva, right? So how do you guys know what's next? Or how do you continue to innovate yourself to be at the top?
Yeah, maybe I'll answer first. That's so relevant. I mean, what I knew 3 years ago and what I don't even go as far as 10 years ago. I mean, the game has changed tremendously. And what I even today, we've just hit our 10-year milestone. I can tell you I'm still learning now. I still sign up for courses just to keep abreast. And that's one of the ways what we do to make sure that we're in touch with all the new things coming up and what we can implement to sort of into our business to make it move to the next level. It's just a continuous learning journey, but it's amazing because there's so many people out there who are willing to share. There are all these amazing groups that you can be a part of. For those of you who are, I think Kieran is doing computer science, and that's just amazing. There's so much that he will be able to learn from everybody around the world. It's just a different world now compared to a long time ago when we could not access everybody from your screen just like that. And so now that's exactly how we learn and how we keep abreast. I think it's going to develop even more, obviously, and there's going to be so much. I think Malaysians just need to not be scared, and I think that is, a lot of people think, oh, I don't have the background, or how am I going to do it? But really it's about your hunger and your curiosity to learn and to just go and find it yourself. It's not difficult. If a lawyer can go into tech, anybody can do it. So there you go. Yeah, my 2 cents.
Yeah, whereas for me, I would say that because Kasih started out, not to say like it's a blue ocean project, but rather we would like to build something out there during the white flag movement to really help solve the needs of these white flag bearers, right? So instead of really trying to benchmark other products against ours, what I constantly tell my team is that we have to focus on our core users. What do they want? And we shall provide them accordingly. So one of the very many examples that we have is that, when I was trying to talk to this reporter, she asked me, so how can I identify whether a household actually already received this aid from, say, sender A or B? So I was like, okay, that's a good one. So let me just reflect back to the tech team and see what we can build, what sort of tools we can integrate on our side to really help identify, like the track records of this white flag bearers and also aid senders. So, and I would say for our case is that really focusing on what we hope to achieve. Yeah, so instead of constantly like trying to think of what else we can do, because our core our target is that we want to help, and what can we do to the best of our ability, to help provide them with the convenience that they need.
So basically solve a problem, right?
Yeah, precisely.
Ching?
Yeah, we were not actually fully alone in the world of infographics. So Canva actually does like A to Z of graphic design. We cover, I always say like they do A until Z. We cover like, M until O or something like that. Like it's a very, very narrow and specific market. But when we started out, actually, we had 2 more competitors. One got bought over time. Actually, both of them got bought over time. And then we had, even more competitors. But it was kind of the same thing, to be honest. We didn't really know what we were doing. I'll tell you this very honestly, but I say that all the time actually everywhere else. We really didn't know. We learned through a lot of experience, a lot of reading books, and I traveled extensively back then. So like I had to go to the valley a lot, like to meet up with mentors and form like partnerships and all that kind of stuff. So there was no other option like for me for us because the business itself was like global from day one. And yeah, that was the only thing. But honestly, the first like 3-4 years was like trial and error. Still is.
Kieran has a question, right?
Hi. Yeah, so I just wanted to sort of ask a question mainly so I guess for Ching and Lavinie, you guys have been in your industries, respective industries for over 10 years. And it sounds like from day one, you've been doing the same thing. You've been working in the same industry. Were there any ever points where you needed to pivot in order to stay in the game?
So this is particularly for Lavi, right? Was it?
For both, I think Piktochart and Babydash, they both have been in their respective domains, but was there any sort of event that might have triggered you to pivot out of it or pivot into something different? Or maybe you did pivot, and what caused that?
Okay, well, I can answer. You're right. We've been in the e-commerce game. The e-commerce game has evolved tremendously. I can tell you, for me, and I talked about it earlier, the main thing that really I wanted to change was the fact that I didn't believe in a bleeding strategy where you had to continuously spend and lose money like crazy just to grow a business. I knew that I wanted to create something that was sustainable. And, I wanted to break away from the typical norm. And I looked at I would talk to so many agencies to get a feel of what everyone was doing in the e-commerce industry. And it was crazy, the amount that they were spending. And we almost got sucked into that. I mean, we did for a while. We were playing that very dangerous game. And I can tell you, I was very uncomfortable doing that. And I wanted to break away from that and learn how to do things or make things work in such a way that it becomes a profitable journey. So in that sense, we pivoted away from the typical e-commerce norm and to create something that works. And it really comes down to understanding the numbers of your business tremendously well, understanding the tools, understanding Google, Facebook, and all the intricacies it comes with, and how you can actually acquire customers profitably. Which a lot of other e-commerce companies are not doing. They're just bleeding, and it's amazing how much is being just washed down the drain, and it's scary. So in that sense, we pivoted away from the norm. Yeah.
Yeah, for us, we didn't really pivot, but we had to look for differentiators. So when Canva came into the market, and due to the size that they were at, it seemed like everybody was, they began to compare us with Canva, and then we needed to make our value proposition like really, really strong. So today, and from today onwards, like it's gonna be a lot about like business storytelling, because we realize that infographics is just a format. Like literally what people are here to create, they're here to make presentations, reports, like convince people. They're here to tell a story through either numbers, or they're here to tell a story through maybe even words or concepts. So like it's more of a positioning thing, but we've also realized that obviously with, and actually Canva isn't our main competitor. Like we have other competitors, and everyone's moving like equally quickly. So then the game right now is a lot about differentiation, and for us, a lot of innovation, but that's like in a SaaS model. So we're called a software as a service, and in a software as a service, you can never stay content and complacent. The software model, the software market is moving so quickly, even Piktostory, when we entered it, like there was at least like close to 100 video editor softwares out there. So we constantly need to like keep drilling in, like what is it that we're good at, what people like us, build more of those, but then don't be content, like keep, doing other things as well, because it's such a hungry market. Like I don't know if I recommend this career, because it's crazy, the amount of drive. I'm doing this for 10 years and I still feel like it's still day one, like you have to keep going, which is crazy.
I want to quickly add on what Ching said, actually. So one thing that I realized is, every team is made up of different unique skill sets. So you really learn to utilize what your team is good of, and then build that around your value proposition. Because, you have a team which the others don't. So it's a good way to go about it. Yeah. Kasih, you have a...
Kasih, your question?
Yes, yeah. I have a question. It's for Lavinie. So I loved what you said about customer service. I was wondering, to what extent do you think that's an important differentiator that helps you to, I guess, defend against more wide-ranging e-commerce platforms like Shopee and Lazada?
Thanks for that question. You know what? It's the number one. It's the number one thing that we do, and so my team goes all out. When we created our website, I wanted to make it accessible. You know, like when you go on a typical marketplace. By the way, we're not a marketplace. You know, and whereby we don't aggregate different shops. We own everything that we sell, and we house everything in our own warehouse. So that's a key thing that makes us different from a marketplace. But just to share, if you look at a typical marketplace, you know, if you wanted to ask them a question, it's very hard. You know, there are all these bots and, you know, that answer you initially. And even if you do type a question to that particular seller on the marketplace, they may not answer you straight away. It might be, I don't know, an hour later or 15 minutes later or whatever. But it's not that kind of personal connection. So I made it a point from day one to have our number right on top of our website. So anybody can call or WhatsApp or message my team anytime and get some answers about, you know, it could be personal questions. We've had mummies come to us and say, you know, my child has this eczema. We get pictures of the child with red rashes, and they're asking questions like, what would you suggest? What can we do? What milk should we give? So we help out as much as we can, but obviously there will be circumstances where they would really need medical attention, and we tell them to go consult their pediatrician or their doctor. But my point is, customer service is so important because it's so different when you're a brick and mortar store and you can walk into a store and ask a question. But even then, even people in the brick and mortar store, how many times have you guys been frustrated? You walk in, you ask a question, and they cannot help you, you know? And so I think so it's even more difficult if you're e-commerce because you don't have that face-to-face sort of interaction. And that's why I felt that whatever it is, we have to pull out all the stops and make sure that we're really good at customer service, because that's our key differentiator. And it's not something I figured out on my own. There are all these amazing global companies to learn from. And so I actually turned to the US. I looked at a lot of the amazing e-commerce companies from there, looked at what was making them really successful, how they did it. And even when they scaled, they were still able to maintain amazing customer service. And so I drew inspiration from them and said, you know what, if they can do it, there's no reason why we in Malaysia can't do this. And as we scale, maintain that, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the answer. It's very insightful.
I've got a question for Kasih actually, because you briefly touched upon what was next for your team. But is this like still something that you can't share with the public yet, or can we get some insider information on what do you mean by like helping vendors?
Good job, Sam.
Thanks for the question, Sam. So it's not to say that we can't reveal it yet. It's definitely very exciting. So Kasih mentioned that since our phase one is basically trying to connect both people who need help with people who can help. But by trying to deliver aid, it's not going to be a sustainable solution, right? Because at the end of the day, even after post-pandemic, people have to reach out to know how to continue sustain themselves. So that's how we came up with like this idea of, okay, perhaps trying to the best of our ability, trying to help these hawkers or even anyone who is in the F&B market, the micro vendors that you see on Facebook, on Instagram, who's trying to sell the tiffin tops or whatnot, getting them to enhance their digital visibility, because out there the offerings are very tough. The conversion rate is very high. That's why they can't park their services on those platforms, and that's why we are trying to provide them with an alternative, which also trying to really focus on our users. Yeah. Hope that answers your question, but feel free to ask. Nina, I can't hear you. Did you say something?
Anit has a question, I think.
Oh,
Okay. It's been wonderful to hear all this really give back stories. We had this whole thing about Bristol gives back, and you people are amazing. That's what you've done with all your businesses. So can I just get a little bit more business minded and ask in maybe 2 words, would you sell out if the price was right? Sorry.
Good question. Sorry.
I think that's a better question for Aichi and Lavinie since you're a budding one.
No, hot milk sold out very early, so come on.
Actually, you know what? I think all three should answer. Although maybe Makase has to take a vote. We'll take a vote through the emoticons, but let's get Ching and Lavi to answer first.
Yeah, no, that good question, Anit. It's putting us on the spot, isn't it? But no, I think at this point I've guarded the business a lot, you know, and we've been through quite a bit of structural changes within the business in the last few years, and I defended it, you know, and I believed that there was a point where I was almost coerced into selling out. And I didn't, because I know that this business can go somewhere and can go even further. And I think whilst for me, I would like to personally say that I am open to potential opportunities going forward. It would really depend about, you know, on the right partnerships or the right sort of positioning. So I think I would be very careful, and I won't say no. I would say I'm definitely open to opportunities. So that would be the way I'll answer your question.
Ching?
Yeah, I felt a few years ago I would have said no, but now I have similar to your, actually. I know you're doing Makase, and it's more like, you know, it's something that you're all doing out of like, I don't know, service to the community. I have a pet project on my own as well, and I really want to concentrate more on that and on parenting. So both my husband and I were currently actually in the midst of making like certain decisions. You know what to, yeah, it could potentially be him just carrying on and me like taking a more like a back seat. But we're still figuring things out. So that I don't know, but I could tell that, yeah, if the timing and the price and everything else is right for us, it may already be that, because we have our own like projects that we're working on. Yeah.
Diversity.
Okay.
That's great. Okay, so Makase.
Okay.
Let's get the team to say yes or no first. I'm putting you guys on a spot.
I think okay. Anyone else from Kasih would like to chip in first?
Okay, on your mark, get set, go. You guys put thumbs up or thumbs down,
Thumbs down. Yeah.
If your video is not on, have it on. On your mark, get set, go, vote.
Oh wait,
I need to find the emoji first.
Okay, you use your real hand like.
Yeah. Click reactions.
Okay, ready? On your mark.
Before we vote, I did want to say something though.
Thanks. You're giving me time to find the emoji.
Right, you can find the emoji. Don't worry, Farrell.
Okay.
I don't know. I think Makase is in a very interesting position where we're sort of very customer facing, and we're very people help centric.
Yes.
And it's a very difficult question in general. I think we're such an early stages. There's a lot of things that we would like to do, and I don't think that's a question we've even thought about or are even prepared to answer at this stage. That's my personal view. But my official view is I vote what Shern says.
What did Shern say? Okay, on your mark. Ready? On your mark. Get set, vote.
Let me provide some context, because Makase is on its very early stage, especially if you are trying to pivot into a new market. So even without having the product established yet, it's too early for us to say. I know that it's wise to come up with an exit plan already, but our team would like to first, provide the value, want to create value for our stakeholders. That's the number one step that we will hope to achieve before, diving down into, okay, if you want to sell our business in the future to someone else who is capable, who is, aligned to our views, who is, like what Lavi mentioned, the partnerships, what is actually offered on the table that is aligned to our views. So those are the consideration that we will take into when we figure this topic again. What do you guys say? Kasih, Farrell, Kieran?
You say.
Said it all.
Yeah.
Okay. We gotta say goodbye to Ching as well. Ching, thank you so much.
Thank you,
because we
Ching.
promised her until 4:30. So thank you so much, Ching.
No, yeah, honestly, I'm so sorry. I have something going on in my family
problem.
right now, so I really need to run. But it's so good, like, seeing all of you, and I hope I can see you all face to face. If y'all come to Penang, let me know. I'm in Penang, so
Great.
yeah.
Definitely.
Thank you.
So
Thanks for
much.
joining us.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Okay. One last question. I'm gonna continue with one last question. Abby has a question for Lavi, which is
Yes, I
Lavi.
just saw that.
Yeah. Okay.
I just saw it and I thought, wow, I really have to type a lot to answer this. So I'm glad you've asked it.
Yeah.
So I can
Just go for it.
answer.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, it's down to basic mathematics, not PhD engineering kind mathematics, but really it's about understanding the business. And I think a lot of e-commerce companies can actually do what we've learned along the way. It's all through trial and error, through experience, but it all comes down to understanding what your return on ad spend needs to be, what your break-even point is. It's so easy, actually. It's not difficult. But then making sure you stick to those parameters very strictly and making sure that you know how to utilize Google and Facebook to make sure that your return, I know I might be saying, what I'm saying might sound like a bit of jargon now, but it's to make sure that you set those parameters because you understand your business from A to Z. I mean, 3 years ago, I can tell you, we had no idea about setting those particular goals. And so because you become very strict and very disciplined about the numbers behind your business, you can achieve it. Yeah. So that actually, I also want to say something else which is not related to this. I mean, Nina and Anit, you guys have done so much for the alumni throughout the years. I think out of all the alumni, we're probably the most active, UK alumni, and you guys, yeah, of course we are, aren't we? No, I mean, we've done, you guys have been at the helm, and so I'm so glad that you've got new young blood. We've got Shern and team all coming in to take over the helm and move forward. What I'd like to say is keep the same spirit going, if not shine even brighter, and keep that up, because you know what? I don't know if you guys know this, but in the late 70s, Singapore Airlines had a tagline, and their tagline was service that even other airlines talk about. So I'd like that to continue for Bristol Alumni, that you guys keep up the spirit, the camaraderie that even other alumni talk about.
Okay, wait. Pankaj,
kind.
thank you, Lavi. Thank you.
Yeah,
I want to
thank you.
introduce someone. Pankaj, can you have your video on? Kieran, you might want to get in touch with Pankaj. Pankaj is a bit shy. He's a friend of mine. He's based in India. So what he does is he actually builds softwares for independent, what is it? ISV, independent service vendors. I don't even know, kind of thing. So he actually sent me a direct message and he said, never sell until there's passion and juice left in the growth, or become super, super rich and go on a lifelong world tour, because he's right in the smack of building technologies for softwares for Silicon Valley companies. That's what he said. See, he's very shy. So if you need advice and whatnot, I would highly advise you to get in touch with him. He's a friend of mine that I met in Silicon Valley. And yeah, so I think you guys definitely know your business. I'm impressed because I work with my people. Part of the thing is to understand the customers. And one of the people we actually interviewed, Lavi, is this lady who talks about WeChat in China and stuff like that. And if you are, they are saying that if you are online, if you're in a brick and mortar store, your people are your customer service. But then if you're online, your customer service is the customer service. So so you got that right down, and you're you really understand your business. Yeah. Okay, Pankaj says he's napping. That's why he cannot come to the video.
Actually, for the session today, from our Kasih itself, Kira and Kasih, Farrell, they're all in their own tech division. Like Kasih is a machine learning engineer at PwC London, and Farrell is doing, I think, data analyst or machine learning engineer for NUS as well. So Marcus is super talented to have them. Yeah, I'm very honored. Yeah. So if anything at all, feel free to drop us a text if we can help. Yeah.
Kiran, you have
Kiran?
a question?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
still got-
I have a not so business related question, more of an alumni related question, and this to everybody because we're all alumni here. If there's one place or some places you'd like to see in Bristol, which ones would they be?
Again, you mean if you'd like to visit again?
Yeah, like today, if you want, if there, you could just see this place, like how has it changed or what is it like? I mean, Will's obviously has stayed exactly the same. I can
Oh,
probably
Rocketillos.
guarantee that. Rocketillos.
I think I would go to Rocketillos. I would go to Brown's. Is
Are
it
they
still there?
open?
Oh,
Brown.
Yeah,
Brown's
is
is
Brown
still
still
It
open?
is still there. Yeah, it is still there.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would like to see that triangle to see because I heard it's changed so much. And what's that store that we used to go? Not really used to go. There are apartments up there.
Brown's,
Dingles.
Queens Road.
Yeah, Queens Road. I would like to see that area because I heard that it's changed so much.
I think it's
saw a
changed
Missy
even in the couple of years that I've been here.
Is Rocketillos
Take
still
a photo,
open?
Kieran, and then send to us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good idea.
deal. Yeah.
Or you know what you guys
What
can do? If
about
you guys
you,
have
Sam?
photos from way back then, send it to me and I'll take the now photos of them.
Wow, so sweet.
Wow.
Thanks, Kiran.
Wow.
I'll put my email in the chat. And you guys can send.
Actually, you're in the WhatsApp, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, put it in the WhatsApp.
The
in the
the
WhatsApp.
noisy one, the no censor one. The other one's a bit politically correct.
There's a censored one. Oh,
Yeah.
The social group is
The social
Eh,
group is you can talk whatever,
talk about
nobody
anything.
bars you unless you want to say something political and then you harakiri and you leave the group because somebody's done that before. So that was so funny. Yeah. Right?
yeah. So Nina and I've had to be bouncers as well, and
Yeah,
get-
yeah.
get our legal team as backup in case we were sued.
I mean, we're not coolies, we're gangsters. You think of our bouncers and gangsters and things we've had to do.
No, but
Isn't it?
honestly, what Lavi said, we really want to pass on the baton, and it's been an amazing time. We've met so many people. So many people have inspired us. There's so many people that have done such amazing things to change the world, and I mean,
And you
change the
guys are
world.
doing it as well. So
And
yeah.
to see that same spirit going just fuels us even more. Keep it up,
Yep.
guys. You guys are amazing.
I mean, it's all about teamwork.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay,
Alright,
Natalie's saying
I
thanks,
think-
sharing.
Yeah, perhaps
Thanks,
should we
Natalie.
introduce our next session? Or
Oh,
tell-
Oh
Yes,
yeah, I
yes,
forgot
please.
about that.
And
Okay.
also
Thank you.
a group
Hang on.
picture.
Let me share this. Okay. What's happening next?
Stay tuned, guys.
You can see again, right?
Yeah. This is happening. Is this happening in person or is it still going to be online?
We will see. The first choice is definitely in person, but if not, it's going to happen online if people are not
Yeah.
out in public yet. Okay, so we will find a way to get over some drinks and to get along.
Yeah.
Yeah, to meet in person. Sounds good?
Sounds good. Yep.
That's good. Yeah.
And shall we take a group picture as well?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
So if you
Although
guys
a
can
lot
have
of
your
work.
camera. Atan, camera. Pankaj might leave, I don't know.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Let's have your photos, videos on. Thank you so much, guys, for everything. Sam, thank you for being amazing today. Yep.
Yes. And thank you for being
My pleasure.
yourself.
Yes.
My pleasure. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for everyone for tuning in. We hope to see you all in December.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Cool.
Take care, guys. Take care, guys.
All right.
care.
Take care,
Thank you.
everybody.
See you in
All
December.
right, I'll see you.
Thank
See
you.
you.
You too, everyone.
Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Happy Saturday.
Happy
Yes.
Saturday.